Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders announced he is making a second run for president, as a Democrat, of course, this morning.
Hi, I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm running for president.
He has a strong base that is with him, die hard. It's probably about 15% of the electorate. And in a field that is incredibly crowded with so many candidates, that 15% means a lot. You don't have to build a whole lot from there to have a real shot at this thing.
Sanders has massive grassroots enthusiasm that really outstrips any other campaign. There is just no doubt that the base turnout strategy is the superior strategy. And there is no doubt who would drive that turnout enthusiasm. Aging Obama nostalgia is not going to get you there. Political revolution, though, just might. I just think it's incredible that there hasn't been more of a reckoning post-Trump with these assumptions and making like unquestioned assumptions about who people are going to vote for, why they're going to vote for.
These are the same people who have gotten everything in modern politics wrong, and yet here they are, delivering more predictions with absolute confidence. I honestly wish I had that kind of chutzpah. What it all really comes down to is this. Bernie's up in Iowa, he's up in New Hampshire. If he wins both, he is very likely to be the nominee. In the modern era, no Democrat or Republican has won Iowa and New Hampshire and failed to capture the nomination. It's never happened. The establishment wants a head-to-head race of Bernie versus Biden. They should be careful what they wish for here. That's the guy you're betting the farm on? Okay. The head-to-head direct contrast between the capable Sanders versus the bumbling mush of Biden is unlikely to serve Biden very well. The establishment is now putting all of their eggs in the Biden basket. How's that going to go? They have put it all on the line, and frankly, in doing so, they're running quite a risk. If Bernie does come out of Super Tuesday with a delegate lead, after all of the endorsements and the speeches and the rallies and media pumping of Joe Biden, then that entire infrastructure will be exposed as the hollow and impotent shell that it is, a paper tiger pretending at greatness. Bernie Sanders is exactly where he needs to be to win the Democratic nomination. Part of the way that pundits routinely talk themselves into ignoring Sanders was this idea that he has some hard ceiling of support. This thinking went, sure, his people are locked in, but he can't expand beyond that. This view was taken as an article of faith, but it's honestly little more than a pundit bedtime story. With the complete lack of energy, enthusiasm, and manifest support for his campaign ultimately lead to his campaign crumbling. Was he outperforming in the polls with respect to what his actual support was on the ground? You just look at the dynamic between these rallies that occurred over the weekend in the same city in Iowa, where Bernie Sanders draws 3,000 plus people to a massive rally, tons of energy, tons of excitement, and Joe Biden in the same city on the same day can barely fill a middle school gymnasium. Well, now we have our answer. We know that the person who is supposedly the frontrunner, the person who was the primary rival to Bernie Sanders going into this contest, his campaign is built on sand. He is crumbling. He is out of money. His donors are not going to pony up based on these results.
Bernie Sanders may have eked out the most votes in Iowa and New Hampshire. But if you look at the numbers more closely, it shows a candidate hitting a ceiling rather than a glide path to the nomination. In both states, Sanders garnered almost the same percentage of the vote. Check this out, 26.5 and 25.6% respectively, compared with Buttigieg earning similar amounts as well. Now, Sanders can blame the large field of candidates, but Donald Trump got 35% in New Hampshire in 2016 in a similarly crowded field. Sanders often makes the case for enthusiasm. That is, people are more fired up, and he's better able to bring new voters into the fold as a result. Well, if you look at the combined percentages among the centrist candidates, they do much better than the progressives, earning 51% of the vote in Iowa and 52% in New Hampshire. Then there's turnout. Tuesday's New Hampshire primary broke the record set in 2008 with an 18% increase in overall turnout compared with 4 years ago, but a decline in the groups that tend to support Sanders. The amount of 18 to 29-year-old voters was down 5% on Tuesday night compared to when Sanders swept the Granite State in 2016. And the amount of very liberal voters was down the same amount compared to 2016 as well. Those kinds of numbers do not favor the Sanders campaign, and actually it could just get tougher. Iowa and New Hampshire were near perfect places for Sanders to flex his progressive muscle. Both were states he'd organized in before, one being next door to his home of Vermont. But there are very few other contests with as friendly of electorates to Sanders as those first two states of Iowa and New Hampshire.
Just think about what a disastrous situation they find themselves in with the Democratic frontrunners campaign. They'd better begin preparations, at least, to ultimately bend the knee.
I know Joe. We know Joe. But most importantly, Joe knows us.
All of this just tells you that regardless of the spin about a Biden comeback and Bloomberg's billions and how Bernie has a ceiling, et cetera, they can read the writing on the wall. No matter what happens in South Carolina, the Sanders takeover has begun.
CNN projects that Joe Biden is the winner in South Carolina.
Buttigieg, Klobuchar, O'Rourke, all in Texas, all through their support behind Joe Biden.
He will bring the exact kind of empathy that is so badly lacking.
Joe Biden has dedicated his life to fighting for people and build that coalition of our fired up Democratic base.
Tomorrow, March 3rd, 2020, I will be casting my ballot for Joe Biden.
Just a few days ago, the press and the pundits declared this campaign dead. But South Carolina had something to say about it.
You never know once the candidate drops out where all of that support's going. You might know where most of it's going, but not all of it.
And they don't call it Super Tuesday for nothing. 14 states.
Joe Biden will win Virginia, North Carolina,
Arkansas, Minnesota,
Alabama,
Massachusetts,
Tennessee, Texas,
Michigan,
Missouri, Mississippi, Florida.
What did we learn with Super Tuesday?
Joe Biden is turning into the turnout candidate.
Talk about a mass movement, a broad coalition.
Yes.
Are you disappointed that that wasn't able to deliver more states last night? And what's your plan?
Of course I'm disappointed. I would like to win every state by a landslide. Have we been as successful as I would hope in bringing young people in? And the answer is no.
Sanders' inability to drive up his support has been a major impediment for him. In fact, his share of support has now declined in virtually all of the 18 statewide contests compared to 2016, demonstrates the challenges Sanders is facing in delivering on his promise to expand the Democratic coalition, which is central to his argument that he's the best candidate to defeat President Trump. But if you can't show that coalition in a primary, that's a problem. And in places where turnout went up last night, didn't help Sanders, it seemed to help Biden.
Cannot stress how bad Super Tuesday went for the Sanders campaign, and that this nomination is probably going to fall in Biden's favor without the fears of a contested convention that we were looking at.
I'm done with this shit, bro. The man's a fraud, blood. I've been saying it for fucking months, blood. The man's a fucking fraud, blood. People need to open their fucking eyes, blood. It's done. He's finished. He's finished, blood.
For 3 months, we were talking about how Joe Biden had no money. Joe Biden was broke. Joe Biden's campaign couldn't spend money in Super Tuesday states. Biden won without any money. He won with hardly any political organization. He won on momentum, reputation, and name recognition.
It's like none of this makes sense to me. The thing that they have been telling their audience for over a year now would never happen.
I think the truth for Biden is that he missed his moment. To the extent that he has rallies, they're sleepy affairs with as many curiosity seekers as legit supporters. It's really hard to imagine that a campaign with so little visible energy could possibly win. Actual enthusiasm for his campaign is at literal zero.
Come on.